So the NHL 21 closed technical test, or beta, if you didn't feel like reading anything in the last couple weeks, is over. And it's time to talk about it. I had a first impressions video, but of course, a first impressions video is only first impressions. It is not a full review, but now I have more experience with the game. I went out of my way, made sure that I played every position, forward, defense, goalie. I did everything. Now, I did play versus a little bit, but not that much, so don't ask me about versus modes. I don't know, okay? I am a mainly EASHL guy, so most of the time I spent playing was in EASHL. So I figured let's talk about it. Let's talk about the good, let's talk about the bad, because there are plenty of both. And I feel like it's unfair to only give one side of the coin, even though I personally think overall I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I played. I'm not going to sit here and act like everything was perfect, because I don't believe any game is perfect. So let's get right into it, man. Let's start by talking about the features that they added. Let's talk about those. The practice mode, nice. I like it. I like it, but I would definitely make some improvements to it. The open practice is great. It's fun. It works fine. You can use it as a warm-up period for your goalie. You can use it as a, a play creator thing if you have 5 guys on and you really want to work on some cycles and stuff without defensemen being in the way. Scrimmage is fun. It's a good way to, again, warm up. And it's a good way to practice against the all-star level AI, which is what the AI is set on in regular EASHL. Like when a player quits or when there's no human assigned to the position, the AI is set to all-star. So it is a good practice mode for that. So I like it. However, the one thing that I would definitely change in practice mode is if I'm going to do a scrimmage, allow me, or open practice for that matter, allow me to pick different teams. Okay, I want to have, because what if I want to do 3-on-2s? What if I want to do that? Then how do I get, and maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed a button that allows you to pick different teams. But from my experience, I don't believe that you can assign 2 different squads and have defensemen on one side, forwards on the other, and run an actual practice. I feel like that is something that we really need, is the ability to do that. And with that comes the ability to have more than 6 players in practice, because obviously if you are going to have a big EASHL roster, it would be nice to scrimmage within your squad and have a 6v6 game within your squad. Now, there are ways to do that. You're going to need a practice EASHL club and just kind of go with that and do a private match. But I'm just saying, it would be nice to have the option to do it in practice mode, open practice, give me 2 sides so I can put my defensemen on one side and my forwards on the other. Another feature that they added, they worked on quality of life, the menus. I mean, they're not that much different, but whatever, they work. I don't feel like menus are a big thing unless they're a problem, and the menus are not a problem, so whatever. A little bit of a non-thing for me, but I just wanted to mention that because I'm trying to go over everything that I can and everything that I notice. What I do like about the menus, though, is the recent games screen. When you go to the recent games screen, you can click triangle on any one of the games that is still in that recent game screen, and it'll give you stats and every player that participated in that game with their individual stats. So you get to sort of recap what you did in a night if you had 3, 4, 5 games and you want to see how you perform. But the most important part of that for me is if you're going into drop-ins or whatever and you find a good player, just out of 1 out of 100 chance you find an actually decent player, you can go back to your recent games and then you can click on their name from that menu, and you can do multiple things from that menu. You can send them a message, you can send them a friend request, I believe, and you can send a club invite and a message from that menu. So that is very, very good. That makes scouting easier. That makes you you don't have to rush at the end of the game to take a screenshot if you really want to remember a player, or just really quickly write it down or type it out in the PSN menu. No. You don't have to do that. You can just go back to recent games, see every player that's there, and figure out. And from that menu, you can actually see the particular player you're looking for or clicking on. You can see their recent games, so you know if it was a one-off and they played well, or if they're actually winning consistently. So that's going to be pretty darn good. It's a good tool if you have an EASHL club and you're just looking to fill it out. You need a few spots, either some spares, or either you're looking for a certain position of need. For example, my team needs a good goalie. Okay, we have not found a good, consistent goalie that wants to play a lot, so we don't have that, so it's good for me to do that, and when I see a good goalie online, I have the ability to message them right away and send them a club invite if they are that good. Speaking of goalies and speaking of good ones, I've seen a few good goalies, and part of that is probably due to the average player playing this technical test being a little bit better than the average player playing the game when it fully comes out. Because you got to be a little bit of a hardcore fan to sign up for the technical test and then actually go ahead, download it, and then play. I feel like the average player in this tech test was better. But, that being said, I found a few good goalies for a reason. Goaltending has been improved, gentlemen. It has been improved, and I love it. The movement feels crisp, it feels quick, and these were not like 90 overall, 95 overall goalies. These were legitimately just EASHL builds with strengths and weaknesses. You could move quickly, precisely, and with some fluidity. I really, really like that. Now, some people have reported that some animations are a little bit too long, and it leads to deflection goals. I feel like deflection goals should definitely happen. You should not have a goalie go from a high glove save to a low blocker save within 200ths of a second. Okay, now, I don't know if it's bad. If it is, then I apologize. I'm just letting you know what I've heard. But from my experience, goaltending has actually been very, very satisfying and very good. Now, I haven't played that many games, but I did try it out a little bit. And as a goalie, a part-time goalie, okay, I do dabble. I do play it once in a while. I was a goalie in real life for a little bit, so I do enjoy playing the position in the video game when it's good. And I feel like this year might be one of those years where it's good. But in front of the goalie, you have the defense. And in front of the defense, you have the forwards. So let's get to the skater gameplay. And this is where you will see instantly the either level of play or amount of play time that a person has in NHL 21 just by what they think about this gameplay, because I've seen some people say it's literally the same as 20. Now, I thought it was pretty similar in the first 2-3 games when I made my first impressions video. However, if you actually spend time playing the game, and if you play at a decently high level, I'm not saying you have to be an elite freaking player, but if you generally give a shit about hockey, you will definitely notice a difference, and you will notice a few things, mainly being the skating speed difference. There is a significant difference between the speed of the average defenseman build and the speed of an average forward build. Obviously, there are some faster defensemen, like the puck movers and the offensive guys, but those guys have to be tiny and they lose out on physicality. The average defenseman that actually tries to commit to stopping you is a little bit too slow, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, but it is factually slower than the forward. If you think that's how it should be, then that's fine. But I'm just telling you, defensemen, especially when backskating, listen, if you make a slight mistake and the forward gets by you, you have no shot at coming back. No shot. If they have stamina, it's over. Just pick a drop pass option, cover that, and hope that your goalie is good, because you have no shot at coming back. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that up to you. Personally, I think defensemen should be a little bit faster, but of course, that is just personal opinion. However, to trade off for that lack of speed that defensemen have, especially when skating backwards, physicality in the game has been drastically changed. It is so much different. Now, in NHL 20, the skill builds like playmakers and snipers were fast. They were quick, they could move around, you could hit them somewhat easily. However, in NHL 21, at least in the tech test, again, this is not a final version. They will make some changes. Slight or big, we don't know, but they will make some changes before the full release. And before anyone says, oh, it's a hype beta, no, it's not. If it was, we would be allowed to show gameplay. The fuck is wrong with you? That's not a hype. They legitimately are using this for feedback and to stress test the servers. Fuck, they had the servers crash multiple times, okay? It is a legitimate tech test. I don't want to hear this, it's a hype beta shit, because that's not the case. It might have been in previous years, but not this year. Okay, fam? I mean, if the aim was to hype the game, why the fuck would you not let content creators make content and show gameplay? Exactly. It is a legitimate test. But what I was saying is the physicality of the game has been drastically changed from NHL 20. Okay, if you are a skill build, like a sniper or a playmaker or a dangler, you had better be good at avoiding contact. You had better be good at stick handling and getting out of dicey situations, because if any character with any sort of meat on their bones gets close to you, you will get clobbered and you will be catawampused into the corner like a puck. All right, it is just, it might be a little bit overdone. In my opinion, it's a little bit overdone. I would like to see EA both speed up the defenseman a bit and also tone down the physicality. I do enjoy, as a defenseman, having the ability to be physical against the skill builds. I just feel like it's a little bit overdone because, I mean, I shouldn't be a complete bitch to be a sniper. And if you are going to do that, then let me make a sniper that's taller than 6 foot tall. Because I was like, okay, this is what we're doing? Is physicality going to be a big part of this game? Then all right, I will build a sniper that is 6'2", 6'3", and I will be a little bit beefy. I'm going to lose out on some shot power and some shot accuracy, a little bit of speed, but I will still have a good shot, and I'll be a sizable player. I couldn't do that. I think the limit was either 6 foot or 6'1" for snipers, and that's a little bit bullshit. If you're going to make the game more physical, at least let us build bigger, more well-rounded players. But for smart defensemen, you are really going to enjoy this year, because if you control your gap correctly and you play the body when you actually should play the body and you don't just make a beeline for whoever has the puck, you are going to be very effective. I'm not saying you're going to be OP or anything like that. I'm saying you're going to be very effective. Speaking of very effective, though, the poke checks. I loved the poke checks in NHL 20, okay? I know it's a big controversial thing where people are like, no, you take penalties. Listen. I average 1 penalty every 18 games. All right, you can indeed take pucks away without taking a penalty in NHL 20. It's all about discipline and timing on your poke check and just overall being more intelligent. I feel like they tone that down, and there's, it leads to a lot of poke spam. You can poke spam a little bit more than you could in NHL 20. That I am not a fan of at all. I definitely think they should re-up, maybe not to NHL 20 levels, but they should definitely re-up the tripping penalties, because, listen, if you're going to poke from the side or from behind, you deserve to go to the box. I'm sorry, that's just the fact. If you have undisciplined poke checks, they should cost you. A lot of people think that defense is just effort. It is not. It is a skill. Defense is about making calculated decisions and being intelligent. That's how you play good defense. So I wish that they would up the penalties a little bit, have that risk-reward system almost perfect like it was in NHL 20 for the poke checks. But speaking of penalties, though, they added elbowing back into the game. And that is one of the most frustrating penalties ever. Please take that out. Please, 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 EA Sports. If anyone at EA Sports is listening to this, take that out of the game. Please. There is no... Unless you are going to give me a button, a big hit button, where it increases my chances at either jumping into a player and taking a charging call or elbowing a guy, don't give me elbowing. Don't give me the elbowing penalty, because I have zero control over what animation my character gets. I feel like that is the most annoying penalty in the NHL franchise. It needs to not be a thing. That or give me a big hit button. Now, if you're sprinting, it does increase the chance of you elbowing someone, but sometimes you're just sprinting to catch up to them, and then you're just trying to close them off on the boards, and you get an elbowing penalty. That is something I absolutely cannot stand. I feel like that should definitely go away. But if you do manage to get by all of the defense, then you have access to a slew of all new moves, including a self-pass off of the boards that also allows you to avoid an incoming check. I mentioned that last video, and someone tell me, well, you could always self-pass off the boards. Of course you could, but you couldn't self-pass as well as sidestep at the same time. That's something that's been added, and the fact that you can use it as a soft chip ahead to a teammate also is very, very good, because sometimes you're just trying to soft chip it. You're not trying to either full send it in deep, and you're not necessarily trying to make a pass out of it. Sometimes you just need to soft chip it. and that is a very, very useful tool. So I love that move. And I think it's good. From my experience, it's pretty good because if you time it well, you're going to absolutely burn somebody that's trying to check you. But if you time it wrong, you are going to get absolutely destroyed. And an extension of that move is to self-pass it off the net or off the boards behind the net as your character turns around and dips in the other direction. That has been useful. Sometimes you're just trying to stop and go, but I do have a problem with that. It's sometimes a little bit unreliable to trigger that animation. Maybe give me another button, like a different button combination that triggers that animation. I don't know if they can do that, if they can code it, but maybe L1 and R1 as well as the R2 button would be nice to trigger that animation behind the net, because sometimes I'm trying to do it and my character just keeps going forward and I'm like, that's not what I meant to do at all. Maybe that's just me not having worked on it enough, and maybe once you do get it and once you're used to doing it, it's a lot easier. But from my experience, sometimes that animation is a little bit unreliable, so I would like that being improved a little bit. Something that was very unreliable in NHL 20 was the physics on a hip check. Hip checks looked absolutely ridiculous, and they have looked ridiculous for several years now. I think the last time the hip check actually looked good was NHL 11. Okay, 12. Some people say NHL 12 were good. Listen, they were reliable as far as where you would aim the hip check, but the physics did not look as good as they did in NHL 11. But now, this year, if you square up someone with your hip check, you are going to flip them. And it is one of the most satisfying things to do in that game. It is very intoxicating. Once you land one good hip check and you flip a bitch, you are going to want to do it again and again and again because it looks so freaking good. Please leave the hip check as is. It is beautiful. Almost as beautiful as somebody doing a perfect Michigan goal / lacrosse goal / Svechnikov. It's the Michigan. Listen, that move, for everybody that was worried about it being overpowered, it is not. It is near impossible. Almost impossible to do it. And this is where I would have absolutely loved to see the beta be streamable and content be uploadable. You know, I would have loved to have the right to upload content, because there's a lot of people that claim that they can pull off the Michigan every game. I'm here to tell you that is not how it goes. No, sir. No, sir. I can get the animation to trigger every single time perfectly in the right position. Never once have I come really that close to pulling off the Michigan. It is ridiculous. And no, it wasn't my class, because guess what? I did it with a dangler, I did it with a sniper, a power, I did it with every single class I could not do it with the EASHL. So I said, you know what? What if none of the EASHL characters are able to do it? Let me hop in versus. So I hopped in versus with a buddy of mine. I picked an all-star team. He picked, I don't remember what team it was, but some NHL team. And he backed off his defense and let me try the Michigan with every single player on the all-star team. None. Not one. Not one time did I even come close to pulling it off, okay? And like I said, I get the animation perfectly like 90% of the time. You just can't do it. And a lot of game changers and content creators and stuff like that, man, a lot of them that I follow, none of them were able to pull it off. It is unbelievably difficult, so it is not overpowered. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to repeat what I said in my first impressions video. I would actually like EA Sports to make it slightly easier and slightly more common, because I don't think there is any point in having the Michigan in the game if your chances of actually pulling it off are 1 in 1,000. Okay, because let me tell you, sure, Svechnikov is the only player to have successfully done the Michigan more than once in the NHL. That is because both he and other NHL players are playing against NHL defensemen that don't give you enough room to do any of that goofy shit. All right, and hey, Svechnikov tried it in the playoffs, and he got hit by the Bruins because they knew it. They played defense. But I can tell you that a lot of NHL players, if you put them on their ice surface and you give them as much time and space as you want, or as they can possibly want, they can actually pull that move off. Okay, you can see junior players pulling it off if they have enough time and space. It's just usually hockey happens so fast that you don't have time to do any of that. So I feel like if you're going to add that animation in the game, at least make it a little bit more common. I don't want to see it every game. I don't want it to be a go-to move. But if I'm going to be behind the net with a skill build and the defense is going to completely ignore me and just skill zone and just stay in the middle of the ice, I need to be able to, if I have that much time, to do it and successfully do it. Maybe not every time I attempt it, but I want to be able to do it, I don't know, 1 out of 10 times? Does 1 out of 10 times sound good? Because to me, it sounds good if you can do it 1 out of 10 times, because if you give someone enough room to try the Michigan 10 times in a game, you deserve to have that shit scored on you. I'm sorry, you just do. So please, EA Sports, again, if you're listening to this, make the Michigan a little bit easier to do. I want it to be possible. The button combination, I think, is perfect. It is complicated enough that casual players won't be able to do it and won't be able to be rewarded for literally just pressing 2 easy buttons. But at the same time, good players are still going to be able to do it. It's not an impossible button combination to do. What does seem near impossible to do, though, is if you are playing against a full team of computers, forechecking and actually getting an interception on one of the AI's passes, it's damn near impossible. But at the same time, the AI takes so freaking long to get out of their zone. I'm talking they will grab it, they will go to the blue line, and if you shut down the passing lanes, they will hook back and come back and take their time and get out of the zone and then hook back again because you're blocking the pass. Now, listen, if they're up or if they're in an even game, I fully support that. But there are times where we had the lead, okay, by 2-3 goals in the third period, and the AI would be content to just circle back and circle back and circle back and take forever to break the puck out. So that needs to be changed. Okay, the AI needs a little bit more awareness where if they're down 2-3 goals, they need to actively try to break out. Jesus Christ, Radulov. But the AI overall is up and down. It really depends what strategies you have them on. If you have them on the default strategies, any skill build in the game will be able to just blow right by them with speed and just go in on your goalie. But if you have them set to the proper strategies where they're not going to be so slow and they're actually going to try to contend with forwards, they're actually pretty decent, maybe still a little bit too high-powered. Like I said, if they're set to the proper strategies, they might be a little bit too good defensively. Now, they are beatable if they're not, but the thing that I don't like with the AI is if you get a team that knows how to play with the computer and knows how to set them up, once they get down in a game, I've seen a lot where it still happens, man. People leave the game, and they end up with a winger and a defenseman, and they're able to control the game because the rest of their AI players, when they set them up properly, they can do most of the work for them. Again, I will reiterate, if you are in a versus mode, the AI should be good because you can only control one player at a time. But in EA SHL, I feel like the AI should be, oh my goodness, should be able to make passes, should be able to help the human players, should not be able to carry bad human players to a victory after their teammates leave. But overall, I mean, the AI, it's a little weird. They're very patient and they look intelligent at times, and then at other times they look a little too patient and they just refuse to make a pass when you're open on the boards. So I don't know. They gotta figure out something. I don't really particularly like how any of the AI played. So please fix it. I don't know. I like the intelligence, like I said, of sometimes hooking back. They just do it too much. And at some point, you gotta let them make mistakes. You gotta let them throw passes where it's a 50-50 puck, where maybe the offense is going to grab it and the breakout is going to be successful, and maybe the defense is going to intercept it. You got to let the AI both make the good passes and make the right plays, but at the same time make mistakes sometimes. Not all the time, but let them make mistakes. Because it's either they don't do anything until they turn over the puck because the opposing humans shut the passing lanes down, and that's very frustrating, or if you leave one passing lane open, they will laser it to that guy. And that's just, I don't know, man. The AI is a little bit weird, and it's tough to find that balance, but I didn't particularly like it. But speaking of passing lanes, though, and I will leave on this, that needs to be drastically improved. This is something that I said in the first impressions video, and that opinion has not changed whatsoever. If I am in a passing lane and you are making that pass, I expect to be able to pick it off somewhat regularly. I don't care what build I have. If the pass slides 3 inches away from my stick blade, I want to have the ability to pick that off. Too many passes are getting through covered passing lanes. And let me be very, very clear about this. If it's a saucer pass, okay, that's fine. But flat passes along the ice, getting through a covered passing lanes, needs to stop. That needs to not be a thing. I don't care if I have a sniper build. I don't care if I have a playmaker build. Sure, they're not defensively oriented players, but they are skilled players that can receive a pass. So why in the fuck would they not be able to pick off a pass when they are literally inches away from it in the passing lane? Okay, that is something that I wish I could show gameplay of, because I have a clip. I could have had a clip if I recorded it of my friend literally being like 3 inches away from the puck. And I'm not talking about the puck was outside of his reach. The puck was inside of his stick blade, and his character just ignored it and let it pass through. I don't understand. If that needs to be fixed. That is the main thing that I would love to see changed from the tech test to the full game. But that is my overall thoughts. We couldn't try out any of the new modes, like the game modes in the new HUT game mode or the Be a Pro mode. We couldn't try any of that stuff. It was EA SHL and online versus. But from what I tried, that is pretty much my overview. Overall, there are things that definitely need to be improved. There are things that definitely need to change, but I really like it. I think it is a good base. I wouldn't say I really like it. I would say I am in favor of it. It is a good game from my experience. Maybe not the gameplay jump that some people would have wished. It is not a super high gameplay jump. It is a lot different, but it is not different to the point where it's a significantly, totally different new gameplay experience. But NHL 21 is feature focused. They are focused on improving game modes. They are focused on adding Be a Pro. Be a Pro is going to be a big thing. I expect franchise to actually get some love, because if you look at the schedule, franchise is the last thing they're going to reveal before the game. So I assume franchise is going to have 1 or 2 key features to it. But Be a Pro, we know for a fact that that's a big focus of the game. It is a feature game more than a gameplay, but I did enjoy the gameplay overall. That's going to be the end of my thoughts about NHL 21. Please let me know in the comment section what you thought of the technical test, if you played it, and if you actually gave it a little bit of time. Listen, they're listening. There are going to be people that read this comment section. I'm just telling you. Let me know what you think in the comments, and just be fair. Just be fair. That's all that I ask. Don't be stupid. All right? That's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hook your boy up and push the like button to the face. Pen the hell out of it. Comment and subscribe. I'm G20 Man. Thank you for your time, and I am out this bitch. Peace.